So today we're going to talk about some basics about editing data, creating data on the tablet. So it's not uncommon when users are first learning the software that we find they have problems with duplicate data that has to be corrected in order to import into various different data management systems back in the office. So let me give you a few examples of what to do and what not to do. So I have created a project called duplicate test. I can edit this data. I can even delete this data prior to uploading. But as soon as this data goes into the cloud, it has been identified in the cloud as a valid project record. Every record you create on the tablet gets a GUID, a globally unique identifier, which means you could change this project name from duplicate test to duplicate test 2, or duplicate test 2A, or even Scott, or Bob, or Jim. It doesn't really matter. We always know what this record is supposed to be because it's got a GUID that was created. The same concept applies to every single module: boreholes, samples, layers, whatever it is that you're doing. So it's fine to change any record, and the record will be reflected in the cloud. Now, it's not a good idea to come in here and delete this project, create a new project that has the exact same project ID, and re-upload it. Because if you do, what you'll see is you'll get duplicate projects in pLog Cloud. And I even have an example of that I can show. So I've done exactly that right here. I have this 2014 traditional project that has a name called the name. I have a new project that was also created called 2014 traditional, and it has a name that's called the location in Norcross. So kind of unusual. But I have created two different projects, either by doing it on different tablets or by creating the same project on the same tablet and deleting the record. So if you're going to make changes, you should not be deleting records and recreating them. Simply edit them in the first place. So let's use an example related to a sample. So back on my tablet, I've got this duplicate test. I'm going to create a hole. We're going to call it BH1. Save that. And now I'm going to do a soil sample. So if I create an SPT or whatever it is, a rock core, it doesn't matter. Any type of sample. You pick whichever one you want to do. I'm going to call this sample 1, and I'm going to say it's at 2.5 feet. And then we'll call it an SPT. 1, 2, 3, 4. And my recovery length we'll say is 1.5 feet. Okay, so we've logged that sample. And then we're going to upload that data. Now back on the tablet, let's come back and say, oh, we realized that this sample was at the complete wrong location. Maybe in the wrong borehole, who knows? So if we delete this sample, and now we come back and we create another sample that has the exact same depth, that's going to be a problem. Because what will happen is that data has already been uploaded to the cloud. It had a globally unique identifier that told us that was valid data. And so now we've actually logged the correct sample in the correct borehole. However, because we've already uploaded that data, we're going to get two records. So the better scenario would be, and it's kind of ridiculous to do what I just showed, but you may have scenarios where you realize you've logged something at the wrong depth. That's fine. Simply change the depth value, change the other values associated with it, blow counts, recovery lengths, RQD lengths, whatever it happens to be that you need to change, that's fine, even once it's been uploaded. Just don't delete a record and upload a record that has the exact same depth in its place. If we had changed this to 2.6, that wouldn't be a problem at all. We would get a record at 2.5 and a record at 2.6. So let's upload this data, and now we'll see what happens. So now in HoleBASE, we're going to import the data that we have just uploaded to the cloud. And I've got lots of projects, so let's filter for duplicate. So there's my duplicate test project. I choose that. We now download our data. We see all the data is coming in. It all looks valid. That's great. And then when we try and import it, we get, oh, we have a problem. Duplicate key fields found. Borehole BH1, type SPT, reference 1, sample ID empty, and depth of 2.5, which makes sense because I logged 2 samples at 2.5 feet. So fundamentally, we have to clean up our data before HoleBASE will allow us to import it. So essentially, if you navigate in My Computer or File Explorer to the following folder and just replace that part of the folder with your username. So C users, your username, app data, local kinetics, HoleBASE SI, and you go into the temp folder, you'll see that each time you download pLog data while you have HoleBASE running, it will have an attempt or a folder for each attempt you've done. So here is the data that I have. If I go to my sample information table and I open that, I like to edit things in Notepad, Notepad++, but you see we've got 2 samples because we deleted the sample instead of simply editing it. So now I have to decide, well, I have 2 samples that look completely valid. Now which one is correct? And so the user is going to have to know whether they go back to their tablet and they look at it, or they remember, oh yeah, I logged that sample in the wrong borehole. I need to put it in the correct borehole. That record is actually the correct one. So if I save that, then I can simply come in and I can import those CSVs directly. And I will come in and go to that same folder. Oops. There's my temp folder. There's the one that we just did at 627. I select all my files and I import them. And now we see that we get everything imported for borehole BH1. So if I apply my filter for BH1 and open that sample table, you see we only get 1 sample. So really the key is don't delete your data if you're going to put something back in its place. If it's invalid data, certainly delete it. However, if you've already uploaded even that to the cloud, it's going to go in, so you're going to have to know that, well, yes, I uploaded a sample that I needed to delete. So your log will probably look a little funny if, in fact, you've done something like that. So it should be obvious. So that's essentially how you correct data on the tablet, edit data on the tablet that needs to be changed, what you can and can't do. And then if you run into scenarios where you have made deletions and added something back exactly in the same depth, you may have to clean up the duplicates and how you clean up the duplicates. So data forensics is here to help you make your data great again.